The wind whipping through the old power lines, strung between buildings still standing in downtown Seattle, creates a haunting melody that mingles with the cries of gulls wheeling overhead. Dillon Largo, newly commissioned as a Pacific Northwest Ranger lawman, tugs the brim of his hat down to shield his eyes from the first light of dawn. His world is one of faded memories and whispered legends. A time before the Cascade Kingdom fell and drowned the whole Pacific Northwest under a sea of fire and brimstone. A time when Seattle was a thriving metropolis, and not a shadow of its former self, ruled by a cabal of gangs and warlords who preyed on the innocent in this lawless wasteland that now surrounds them. Though there are some like Dillon Largo who fight back against the darkness. He pushes his mount forward, urging it into a faster pace as he approaches the docks where workers already are bustling about, readying the sailing ships for the day's work. His stomach growling reminds him of the need for a good plate of food and a strong cup of coffee. He remembers days when a man could walk into a cafe in Pioneer Square and get both without having to barter for it. He thinks of his PA and how he would have handled this situation, then shakes his head, remembering his PA died, trying to save people who didn't deserve it, didn't appreciate it, and that's what got them killed. He will not make the same mistake. He squints at the rising sun, his face creased with the memories of loss and regret. He's here for one reason: to find the gang leader who's been robbing banks and holding up trade along the Columbia River. Trade he needs to keep flowing if they going to have any hope of rebuilding this shattered world. Born 30 years ago in Portland, Oregon, Dillon's life has been a tapestry woven with threads of hardship and resilience. He spent most of his early years traveling the country with his parents, who were missionaries, until settling in the shadow of Mount St. Helens. After the mountain blew its top, there they made their home in the small community of Bergstrom, Washington, where Dillon's father, Caleb, became an influential preacher at the local church. Under his father's guidance, Dillon learned the ways of the Lord and the importance of helping those in need. But life in the shadow of a volcano was never easy. The eruption of Mount St. Helens, which claimed hundreds of lives and buried entire communities under tons of ash, left its mark on the young boy. When he was just 12 years old, a sudden illness took his mother, leaving his father to raise him alone. It was a tragedy that shook the close-knit community and left an indelible wound in young Dillon's heart. As Dillon grew older, he inherited his father's strong sense of justice and compassion for the suffering. But unlike his father, he found solace not in the scriptures, but in the rugged beauty of the Pacific Northwest. He learned to hunt in the dense forests that surrounded him, and to fish in the clear waters of the nearby rivers and lakes. These skills not only sustained him, but also became an integral part of his identity. When he turned 18, Dillon decided to follow in his father's footsteps and become a preacher. However, his path was far from conventional. After the fall of the Cascade Kingdom and the ensuing chaos and destruction, Dillon found himself drawn to the plight of those who had suffered at the hands of the ruthless gangs and warlords that roamed the land. He began to preach a message of hope and resistance, urging people not to let the darkness consume them. One fateful day, while tending to the sick and wounded in a makeshift clinic, Dillon encountered a group of Pacific Northwest Rangers, a fledgling organization dedicated to bringing law and order to the ravaged landscape. Impressed by Dillon's courage and unwavering determination, the Rangers offered him a place among them, believing that his unique perspective and skills could be a valuable asset to their cause. Despite the skepticism of some who questioned whether a preacher had what it takes to survive in such a perilous world, Dillon accepted the offer. He realized that his calling was not just to preach about hope, but to embody it and to fight for it. Now, here he is at the edge of civilization in Seattle, searching for answers. Seattle is a ghost of its former self, reduced to a collection of decaying concrete and twisted metal skeletons of buildings. All that remains of the once vibrant city. Nature has begun to reclaim the streets, with weeds and vines creeping over the rubble. The air is thick with the stench of decay and the constant drone of flies. The only semblance of order comes from the handful of gangs and warlords who rule over the ruins. Among them is the notorious gang led by the elusive Shadow Walker. Rumored to be a master manipulator and a ruthless killer, Shadow Walker has evaded the authorities for years, striking fear into the hearts of those who live in the city. Dillon adjusts his grip on the reins as he navigates the treacherous streets. The remnants of the interstate highway system have become a maze of broken concrete and rusted metal. The road is littered with the debris of abandoned vehicles and the occasional corpse, a grim reminder of the dangers that linger in the shadows. He dismounts, tying up his horse. He scans the dilapidated buildings and dilapidated shops surrounding him, searching for any sign of life. The silence is deafening, broken only by the sound of the wind whistling through the shattered windows of the buildings. As Dillon continues his search, he finds evidence of recent activity: overturned carts, scattered goods, Signs that someone has been here recently. Could it be the gang? Patience, he reminds himself, his father's voice echoing in his ears. He knows that rushing into things without a plan is a sure way to end up in a grave. He scans the area for anything that might help him, anything that might give him an advantage if a confrontation arises. He spots an old fire escape, its metal rungs creaking ominously under his weight as he climbs. From his vantage point, he surveys the area, his gaze sharp and unwavering. He sees movement in the distance, and his heart pounds in his chest. Are they the gang members? Or just another survivor struggling to make it in this harsh world? Dillon waits, his body tense, ready to spring into action if needed. The figures draw closer, revealing themselves to be a young couple, scavenging for supplies. They move with the caution born of necessity, their eyes constantly scanning for danger. Dillon watches them for a moment, noting their ragged clothes and haggard faces, the toll that survival has taken on them. He knows that they are just trying to get by in a world that is turned upside down. As they pass, their eyes meet for a fleeting moment, and Dillon sees a spark of hope in their tired gazes. It reminds him why he is here, why he continues to fight against the darkness that threatens to consume this world. He descends the fire escape, his steps purposeful, his resolve strengthened. He may be just one man against a ruthless gang, but he is fueled by an unwavering determination to bring justice to those who deserve it. He makes his way through the ruined city, guided by instinct and whatever scraps of intelligence he can gather. Each step takes him deeper into the heart of the gang's territory. Each corner he turns, revealing another testament to the devastation that has befallen this once great city. He spots a group of men huddled around a makeshift fire, their faces hidden in the shadows. Are they the Shadow Walkers gang? Dillon's hand instinctively goes to the rifle case slung across his back, his heart pounding in his chest. He knows that if these men are indeed his quarry, then a confrontation is imminent. He assesses the situation quickly, looking for any advantage he can find. He notes the men's wary glances, the way they keep their heads low, their bodies tense. He sees the weapons they have hidden at their sides, the glint of metal in the firelight. Dillon decides to approach cautiously, keeping to the shadows, moving like a phantom through the ruins. He knows that surprise could be the key to success in this dangerous game. As he closes in on the men, he hears snippets of their conversation, hushed voices speaking in code, mentioning names that could be clues to his quarry's whereabouts. Dillon's mind races, trying to piece together the puzzle, trying to figure out where he might find the elusive Shadow Walker. He considers his options, knowing that time is of the essence. Does he confront the men directly, or does he try to gather more information, maybe even infiltrate the gang himself? The decision weighs heavily on him, knowing that every choice has its consequences. In this world of shadows and secrets, Dillon must navigate the treacherous waters of deception and betrayal. He knows that trust is a luxury he cannot afford. Everyone he meets is a potential enemy. Everyone he speaks to could be leading him into a trap. Yet he presses on, driven by his sense of justice and his need to restore order to this shattered world. The fate of Seattle, perhaps the fate of the entire Pacific Northwest, hangs in the balance. And Dillon Largo, the preacher turned lawman, finds himself at the center of it all.